Alrighty, Low for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new deck profile. This time around it is Subterror. So, as a lot of you guys who have followed this channel for a long time, I really like Subterrors. They were a really cool deck that I had a lot of hope for, and unfortunately they never really went anywhere. They didn't really get to do much. There's a lot of reasons for this, but of course the big thing is that they are a flip deck and that inherently makes them slow. But however, with Guru coming out, the deck has a lot of potential to be able to do a lot more. Of course, the big thing is that everybody's hyped for Guru control. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I find it very boring to play, and I really like standard Subterrors, which is what this is. So, I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's get on to the deck profile. First and foremost, we got triple Stalagmo. Stalagmo is one of the best Subterrors in the deck, or at least one of the best behemoths. I really should be more specific on that, but yeah, Stalagmo is one of the best behemoths in the deck. The big thing is that whenever he's foot face up, he can discard a Subterror to draw 2 cards. Subterrors like to be in the graveyard, and of course you like drawing cards. So, really good card. It is a hard once per turn with that, but being able to do the shenanigans that this deck does, with like Book of Mooning him, flipping him face up, and then blah blah blah. Getting to do it multiple times over multiple turns is pretty good. His stats are pretty cool too. 2800, 2100 defense. 2000 attack is really beefy. 2100 defense. Well, it's not the best defense in the world. It is some. Of course, he's also level 10, which makes for some fun little plays you can do with the deck. So, really good card overall. And of course, like with all behemoths, if you control, if like a monster is Book of Moon and you have all face down monsters, you can spell summon them from your hand in defense, and then you can flip them face down once a turn. So, kind of, well, pretty good there. Then we got arguably the best behemoth, Umastrix. Umastrix is a darn good monster, and also I believe he's the only behemoth that Guru Control plays, and they only play like 1 copy of him, which makes sense. But Umastrix basically, whenever he's foot face up, he's a man-eater bug, but instead of destroying the monster, he banishes it. Not to mention, he's got 2700 defense, so he's got way more defense than... I think he's actually got like the highest defense of any Subterror monster, now that I think about it. I think the only one that comes close is Stygo Kraken, who has like 26, but either way, 2700 defense is nothing to shake at. He's a level 7 too, which is pretty helpful with certain plays and stuff and what you can do. So, really good card overall. Again, like with the others, he can spell summon himself from a hand. Then we got to start a show, Guru, the guy we were waiting for ever for. Thank you, Shonen Jump in Japan, for making it a promo and making us wait like a year and a half or however long we waited. I lost count. But so Guru has like 2 really good effects. So whenever he's foot face up, he adds any Subterror card from your deck to your hand. I believe he cannot add himself. Yeah, of course he can't. They've been building that into everything. So, yeah, cannot add himself, but whenever he's foot face up, you can add any Subterror card from your deck to your hand. And then, once per turn, you can target one other monster on the field, flip both this card and that monster face down. If you have another Subterror card on your field, you can do this during your player's turn. Now, notice that it says card. That means that if you have like Subterror Cave Clash to continue a spell out, you can do it during a first turn without having to rely on having another monster. This is really, really good. Obviously, he's a Book of Moon. He's what makes Guru Control work so well. I do not believe that is a hard... yeah, you can only use each effect once per turn, so it is a hard once per turn. So there is no real point to having multiple Gurus on the field other than flipping one face up to search and then using the other's effect to Book of Moon, so you can still have multiple, you know, Subterror monsters on the field to do that. But still, pretty darn good effects overall, just being a Book of Moon and a search. What more can you ask for a flip deck? Next up, actually, here's what you can ask for. Subterror Fiendess. Fiendess is a scary monster here. She has 2 effects, the first of which is if your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a face-up Subterror monster, you can send her from your hand or field to the graveyard, target that Subterror monster, flip it face down, and negate that effect. I believe it also destroys too, then negate and then target. Yeah, negate the... No, it does not destroy, it just negates the activation. I always have to double check that because my brain does not compute and think, oh, negate and destroy, but no, it just negates. So if your opponent's activating like a Draconic Diagram, the Draconic Diagram sticks around, which is annoying, but oh well. The other big thing is you can flip her face down to summon any Subterror from your hand or graveyard. Really good card overall. She can be a defensive option or a play enabler, which is something that the deck really needed. And of course, if you use her effect to flip her face down, bring up something, and then you use like either Final Battle or Hidden City to flip her face back up, you can then of course still use her negation effect if needed as well, which is pretty cool. You still also of course need another Subterror out in the field, and Subterrors aren't the best for maintaining field advantage, but well, oh well, gotta work with what you can. Next up, for the we got Subterror Nemesis Warrior. Nemesis Warrior is a really good monster overall. He came out in the first wave, and funnily enough, almost all the cards used in the first kit that came out in the first wave are still used today. Nemesis Warrior, basically he's a lone fire blossom. During each player's turn, you can send a Subterror monster from your deck to the graveyard, then tribute Subterror monsters you control, including this card, to special summon that monster in face down defense position. Really good card, and then if he's foot face, and then if a dude is foot face up, you can special summon from your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn, but still a really darn good card. He's a warrior, so you can search him with Rhoda. You generally want to Fool's Burial him too. Really good card. Makes the deck work really well, and can of course dodge around targeting stuff. Not so much mass destruction and everything, but oh well, not so much you can do with that. Moving on, we got the One of Archer. I remember when she came out, everybody thought that she was going to be the best card in the deck, and to an extent, I could see it if we ever get a really good destruction engine for the deck. Zodiac used to be the best option, but with Zodiac's being basically dead, that's not really much you can do anymore. So Nemesis Archer, basically if she's destroyed, she can float into any other Subterror in either face up or face down defense position, and then if she attacks a face down defense position monster your opponent controls, and you control another Subterror monster, you can just auto kill that monster. She's a really good card. I feel like the deck does not have any particularly good way to destroy her consistently though. Otherwise, she would definitely be an instant 3 of if the deck had an easy way of destroying her every single turn, but since they don't, she's really more of a 1 of just in case, and you know, also honestly the popping effect isn't half bad too, with how much this deck does do flip effects and stuff. So yeah, she's a good card, but the deck needs more ways of destroying consistently to be able to use her effectively. Next up we got Subterror Behemoth Ultra Mathis. I've been very mixed on this card, and I know a bunch of other people are as well. Behemoth Mathis, basically whenever he's foot face up, he Book-a-Moons everything else on the field, which is really good, and also can be very bad depending on the situation. Obviously, the big thing is that links cannot go face down, so if your opponent has a board full of link monsters, you're doing nothing to their field other than just flipping over a 3k beater. But however, if you time it right and you flip him over when your opponent's going to make a big link play and they got a board full of monsters that can be Book-a-Mooned, you can screw them over so hard because of course you can't link summon with a face down monster. So if like you're doing against like I don't know, like Sky Striker or something, and he's already used Ray effect for the turn, but he's got another Ray out or something, I don't know. Something crazy like that, or your opponent's got a big board of monsters you're going to make into a bunch of link plays. You can just chain Final Battle, flip them face up, Book-a-Moon everybody, and unless they got more stuff they can do, that's kind of there at the end of their turn. Of course, he's also strongest Subterror with 3k attack. Actually, I'm wrong with that. There's, actually, no, yeah, he is the strongest. He's one of the strongest. He's tied for it, but oh well. So really good card overall. Very scary for certain timing. It really comes down to how skilled you are and what comes down to like what's going on in a duel and everything. Next up we got Subterror Behemoth. Oh dear lord. Spelliogeist? I still can't figure out how to pronounce this. He kind of looks like a resurrected Stalagmo, which might be some lore implications. But basically, when he's face up, he can target one monster in the field, change it to face up attack position. If it is in defense position, also change its attack to 0. You can only use this effect of him once per turn. This basically is another way to trigger your own dude's effects to be able to do that, and also if you like Book-a-Moon your opponent's monster of Guru and then flip over this guy, you can make that monster flip back up and then drop its attack to 0. This can be used very easily offensively or defensively in that scenario. So you can either, you know, flip over somebody to like, you know, be able to punch for a lot of damage, flip over Guru to search during your turn or do some other stuff. Lots of different shenanigans you can do with him. So I still really like him as a 1 of. His awkward level though really does make him not as good. I wish he was level 10, but no, he's like a level 11 or 12. Actually, I think Ultra Mathis is the level 12. This dude's a level 11. So yeah, he's kind of a double-edged sword in that sense, but I still really like him as a 1 of. And then for the last one we got Subterror Behemoth, oh dear lord, Phosphoro Glacier. This card's really good. Basically, whenever he's face up, you send any Subterror from your deck to the graveyard. Or actually, I believe, yeah, it's any card from your deck to the graveyard. So he's basically a Beatrice for the deck. The big thing is you use him to send Warrior so you can get more stuff going. Or you send the other dude so you can recur him with Final Battle, and sorry, not Final Battle, Cave Class, and a kind of Suedo searching kind of thing. You can also mix in some other cards into this deck to like mess around with that. Like before Guru came out, I was playing a zombie engine because one of these Subterror Behemoths is a zombie. Funnily enough, he's the worst behemoth, but however, he's still a zombie, so you can send him with this or some other zombie stuff and then be able to do some other shenanigans. There were quite a few fun things you can do with it. So Phosphoro Glacier is really fun in certain other situations, builds I mean, but however in this particular build I like him as a one of, more for the Fool's Burialing the Warrior, which is where you really want him. Also of course he's 2600 beater, which is always nice. Moving on to the spells, we got Triple Hidden City. This is the big thing. This is the money card. This is everything that like everybody's going after right now. The Hidden City is such a darn good field spell. Whenever it's activated, you can add any Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can target one Subterror you control, YgoAmino it, and then also once per turn, whenever your opponent attacks a face-down monster, or heck, I think it's any just attacks in general. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, yeah, that's right. You can change one face down defense position Subterror you control and do face up attack or face up defense. Really, really, really good card, and also negates the attack as well. So really good for defense, really good for just being able to reuse your effects all the time. Very, very good field spell overall. Of course, in tandem with that, you play Terraforming at 2, at however much you can play it at. Then I got 2 Subterror Cave Class. I've seen a lot of people very mixed on how many you should play in pure Subterror. I know Guru Control will typically play 1, they'll search it off of Guru, and then that way they can use Guru's effect during your first turn. Basically, Cave Class has 2 effects. Subterror monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense for every face-down monster on the field. That includes your opponents as well, so that can get very, very high very fast depending on what's going on. Of course, since everything will be in face-down defense, your opponent's not going to be taking much damage, and unfortunately none of the Subterrors has piercing, so the attack is really just more for show, I guess. But the big thing is that whenever one of your monsters does do damage, you get to add any of your Subterrors from your graveyard back to your hand. This is very, very, very integral because we aren't playing a super huge monster count and the Subterrors go to graveyard very often, so getting them back to hand so you can just resummon them and do more stuff with them is very, very good in that sense, because you constantly want to be keeping summoning them and just controlling the board and going for game and stuff. Moving on, we got Double Desires for draw power. I mean, that's really how it is. A lot of the stuff that this deck plays is at 3, so we do play this. Of course, we don't really care if we banish the worser behemoths, but however, we do want to try and keep as many of the good ones, you know, Stalagmo and Umastrix, so this card just helps get us to everything that we need faster. 1 for 1 to get out good old Fiendus a bit quicker. Monster Reborn, because hey, why not? Rhoda for searching out the Warrior. Fool's Burial for sending the Warrior. I cannot stress how important it is that you get Warrior out as soon as possible. You don't need 3 of them though, because we do have several different ways to get to them and get them in a graveyard, so it's not like the worst thing in the world if you don't draw them. Moving on to the traps. First and foremost, we got Triple Subterror Final Battle. This card is the most important card in the deck, and if it came out sooner than the last set for the support of the archetype, it would have probably made a big difference in the deck's consistency and ability to do well in tournaments. So Final Battle, basically, it's got a kind of Swift Scarecrow, Scrap Iron Scarecrow kind of thing, where after it's resolved, instead of sending it to the graveyard, it just sets itself again. Now obviously you can constantly reuse its effect multiple times. Now granted, you can only use 1 effect per turn and only 1 set per turn. You cannot activate this card multiple times, even if you have multiples on the field, which is a bit annoying, but I digress. So, activate 1 of these effects. Also, after that, set this card face down instead of sending it to the graveyard. Oh, you can activate multiples. Never mind. I thought you could only activate 1 per turn, but no, you can activate multiples if you do have multiples on the field. Anyway, so you can choose to set one Subterror monster you control into face down defense position. You can choose to flip over a Subterror monster in attack position, double the attack and defense as a Subterror. Okay, it doesn't really double, but it might as well. And then finally, there's the last effect where this turn activated effects of Subterror monsters cannot be negated, which is just kind of okay. That's the least one activated. Generally speaking, most of the time you're using this as a Book of Moon or Book of Taiyu. Sometimes you use it as the double attacker. Again, it doesn't technically double attack because it takes the attack and defense and adds it to the attack, but it might as well as be a double attack since most of the monsters have similar attack and defense stats. So yeah, very, very good card. Overall, you generally want to play as many of these as you can. In the pure build, I know in Guru you play like 2, but oh well, this isn't Guru control. And then we got the last wave of support that this deck has gotten. I can't remember if this was in the main set or actually wait, I just gotta look at the set codes. It was in the main set. Interesting. I did not know that actually. I thought it was another OCG import. So Subterror Succession. This card, like with Final Battle, also just resets itself after activating and has 2 effects. Send 1 flip effect monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to add 1 monster with a different with the same attribute but a lower original level as that monster before it's sent to the graveyard. Or you can send 1 monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, and if you do, add 1 foot monster from your deck to your hand with the same attribute but a different name as that monster before it's sent to the graveyard. So basically what this does is it searches out anything in your deck. You send a foot monster, you can add any of your Subterror monsters with a different level that's lower than it from your deck to your hand, or you can send any monster and add a foot monster with a different name than that monster that you sent. This is actually not technically a Subterror like support card if you look at it, because it does actually support any flip deck. So if you're playing Crawlers, if you're playing Prediction Princess, Shaddolls, any of those, you can use this in those decks because it does support any flip deck, which is very, very interesting. Again, though, however, unlike Final Battle, this card actually is hard once per turn. I got them mixed up. I thought this wasn't, and that was, but oh well. It's weird. You like memorize the card effects, but don't actually remember like certain key parts. Next up, finally, we got Triple Goza Match as the last trap card that I play. It's just a very good floodgate. Everything in this deck is Earth, and yeah, you don't really go into the Earth. You don't really go into your extra deck too much, but however, this card really does help with controlling the board and just gives this deck a bit more ability to fight your opponent's deck. Because again, Subterrors are super slow, so if you can keep your opponent from going super speed, you can keep them down from, well, again, going super speed. So this card really just does help this deck keep up with your opponent's board and everything. I only listed with Searchable. This is another reason why I play 3 of this, as well as also Desires and 3 Stalagmo, because you want to get to this card as soon as possible, and because it really just does help, and if you don't get to it, it's a lot harder to win. Finally, for the extra deck, I'm going to be 100% honest. This extra deck can be pretty much whatever you want it to be. This deck does not go into the extra deck hardly ever, and it's honestly only there for situations where you actually do need to go into it. So first and foremost, we got 2 good old Mrs. Radiant. She grants all your Earth monsters 500 attack and defense, and then if she dies, you can add any Earth monster from your graveyard to your hand. Kind of goes without saying, everything's Earth in this deck, so helps out, super generic. 1 Link Kribo, just in case. Again, you don't really want to link off your Phoenix too often, but if you do need Link Kribo, hey, he's there. 1 Cerberus to pop stuff, 1 Phoenix to pop stuff, 1 Subterror Behemoth Phoenix. The big thing between her and all the other extra monsters that I play is that the others are intended to either combo or go off and try and, finish off the game and stuff, because Phoenix can, Mrs. Radiant can help out really go for damage, or Link Kuriboh can just get himself off the board, stuff like that. And then the Nightmares, you can Link climb and stuff. Subterror Behemoth Phoenix is meant to be on your field for a long while and just keep accruing you more resources and basically kind of cheese out the boss monsters. So she needs 2 foot monsters to go into. Gains attack equal to the combined original levels of the Subterror monsters that you used for its wing summon times 100. So it can be very beefy, but not as beefy as it really should be. During your main phase, you can send a foot monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one monster from your hand in face down defense to your zone. Discard points to. You can only use this effect of Phoenix once per turn. Once per turn, if a monster discard points to its foot face up, add a foot monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So she's a good link monster, but not particularly great. The big thing is the behemoths want to be able to summon themselves from the hand, and you got to be able to have nothing but face down monsters for that, and this card doesn't do that. It does, however, churn out monsters easy, and it can help you unbrick, so there are times where you do want to play her, but I'm not the biggest fan of her overall for Subterror. She's actually a lot better in crawlers, prediction princesses, and Shaddolls. It's kind of sad that she's better in every other flip deck other than her own, but oh well. One Beauregard as like my de facto boss monster in the extract. If you have Boral Load or Boral Sword and are lucky enough to have the money to spend on those cards, play one of those two instead, but I don't have that kind of money, so Beauregard it is. On to the Xyz monsters. One Sylvan Princess Sprite. Doesn't come up often, but it is nice to be able to dig through your deck and get to your spells and traps a bit faster. One Abyss Dweller for just, controlling my opponent's stuff. One number 41, Baguska. You notice a lot of rank 4s in this deck. The big thing is that the Knight dude, Warrior dude, Subterror Warrior, he is the main one that you're going to have on the field a lot of times alongside Guru, so you'll have them a lot most of the time for just being able to, make plays. 101 for just removal, because why not? And I'm trying out Time Thief for Doer in this deck. I know this isn't Time Thieves I like all, but I want to try him out because he is generic, which is really cool. And honestly, I know the memes, but like he genuinely looks like Joker from Persona 5. So basically this card is pretty darn good. He needs any two level 4s to go into. During the standby phase, he attaches the top card of your opponent's deck onto him as Xyz material, and then during his turn, you can activate his effect and detach upwards of 3 materials, one of each type, to do one of each of his effects. If you detach a monster, you banish him until your next standby phase. If you the next standby phase, not your next standby phase. If you detach a spell, you draw a card, and if you detach a trap, I actually don't remember. Target one face of card you return a card your opponent controls back onto the top of the deck. Really, really good card overall. You can only use this effect once per turn, but however, being able to get a free draw, just dodging removal, or just spinning back a card is really, really good. So, and you can trigger all 3 effects at once if need be. You can just trigger 1 or 2, whatever you need. Really good card overall. One Red Eyes Flare Metal just in case, because we do play triple Umastrix, and this guy is level 7. Well, Umastrix is level 7. This guy's rank 7. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, because Stoagmo's level 10, and hey, going for big K damage and going for game is always nice. And then one Super Dora for the same reason. It's just a really good rank 10. So that's the deck profile. What do you guys think? I really, really, really like Subterrors. I really hope that this isn't the end of the support for them with Guru and Succession. I hope that Konami has something up their sleeve to make this deck work a bit better, because overall, I feel like the deck as an archetype is rather close to being able to do something. I know like Subterror Control, Guru Control, whatever you want to call it, is rather popular right now, and actually Hidden Cities are like almost $30 because of that. So it is rather crazy that in some way, shape, or form this deck is actually seeing play in the meta, but however, it's not the actual deck, it's Guru Control, which is basically Guru with a bunch of search cards, with a bunch of trap cards and hand traps, and I don't know, I don't find that very fun. But what do you guys think? Thank you all for watching, have a great day, if it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out, goodbye.